At the family gathering, my cousins made a group chat and ranked all of us by success. I was at the bottom, the broke one. I didn't react when I saw the messages. I just smiled, finished my plate of food, and went home. But the next day, I did something that would change everything. I transferred $50,000 to each of their accounts with a single message: for your student loans, compliments of the broke one. And then I watched as all 5 of them texted me simultaneously with the same question: where did this come from? My name is Isabella Green. I'm 31 years old. And I had just become a billionaire through a startup exit that nobody in my family knew about. The family gathering that had prompted the cousin group chat was a Memorial Day weekend barbecue at my uncle's house in the suburbs of Chicago. It was the kind of event that happened every single year, 3 generations of the Green and Miller families assembling together to grill meat, drink beer, play lawn games, and engage in the particular kind of competitive measuring that family gatherings specialize in. The tension was always underneath everything, not malicious, but present. Everyone assessing everyone else. I'd arrived late, as I always did. I'd brought a wine I'd picked up on my drive, nothing expensive, nothing that would signal anything about my financial status. I'd learned long ago that drawing attention to money was a liability in my family. It led to questions. It led to requests. It led to assumptions about what you should be doing with it. My cousin Marcus had seen me arrive and greeted me with the kind of dismissive enthusiasm that had become our interaction template. Isabella. You made it. How was the drive? Still working at that startup company? Something like that, I'd said, heading to the food table. Well, good for you, Marcus had said in that tone that suggested he didn't think it was particularly good for me. Marcus was an account manager at an insurance company. He made decent money. He had a modest house. He had the kind of life that looked successful on the surface but that he complained about constantly. The barbecue had proceeded as these things always did. Everyone eating. Everyone drinking. Everyone talking about their kids' schools or their recent vacations or their home renovations. There was that particular tone of one-upmanship that ran through all of it, people casually mentioning expensive things, comparing salaries, discussing whose kids were in the best programs. I'd mostly stayed quiet. I'd eaten. I'd listened. I'd observed. Later in the evening, I'd seen Marcus pull out his phone. He was texting intently. He was showing something to my cousin Jennifer, laughing in that particular way that made me immediately suspicious. They were both laughing hard, and I watched Marcus's thumbs moving across the screen rapidly. The kind of typing that suggested group chat activity. I'd thought nothing of it at the time. Family gatherings always had their moments of in-group joking. It was from Marcus's wife, Sarah. She'd taken a screenshot of the ranking conversation and posted it to the family chat with a laughing emoji. Found this on Marcus's phone. Apparently the cousins have been ranking us by success. Thought you all should see how you rank. The screenshot showed a conversation between Marcus, Jennifer, her husband Thomas, their cousin Brett, and Brett's girlfriend Melissa. There were a series of rankings. At the top, Jennifer and Thomas. Both successful corporate lawyers. 6-figure salaries. Second tier, Marcus and Sarah. Decent jobs. Stable income. Mortgage paid down substantially. Third tier, Brett. High school teacher, good job security, modest income. And at the bottom, in all caps with laughing emojis, Isabella the broke one, still in that failed startup. Below that, remember when she said her startup was going to be huge? LOL. Still working there, probably making $60,000 a year if she's lucky. There were about 50 messages of them joking about my financial situation. About how I'd failed to achieve real success. About how I was probably still renting an apartment. About how it was kind of sad that I hadn't moved on from that startup thing. One message from Jennifer, the broke cousin. That's who she is now. Remember when she thought she was going to be rich? One from Brett, she's a good person, but let's be real. Not everyone is cut out for financial success. The message that hurt the most was from Marcus, she's not dumb. She's just not ambitious. She's content with being broke. Some people are like that. I'd stared at that message for a long time. Then I'd closed the group chat and gone about my day. What my cousins didn't know, what my family didn't know, was that I wasn't working at some failed startup. I was the co-founder and chief technology officer of a company called Quantum Shift. Quantum Shift provided AI-powered data infrastructure solutions for enterprise clients. We were solving real problems for real companies. Quantum Shift had been founded 11 years ago by me and 2 other co-founders, both engineers I'd met in graduate school. We'd been completely bootstrapped for the first 5 years, no venture funding, no angel investors, just 3 people who believed deeply that we could build something nobody else had built. We'd been rejected by venture capitalists who didn't believe in our technology. We'd been dismissed by people who thought we were too ambitious. But we believed in ourselves. And we'd continued building. By year 6, we had our first major client, a Fortune 500 financial services company that needed our technology to manage their data pipeline. By year 7, we had 10 clients. By year 8, we had 50. And then things had accelerated. By the time we were approached by acquisition interest, Quantum Shift was processing data for over 200 enterprise clients across North America and Europe. We had 300 employees. We had offices in San Francisco, New York, London, and Toronto. We had turned down multiple acquisition offers because we wanted to continue building independently. But then an offer came that made sense. A larger software company that shared our vision. That would let us continue to innovate. That would let us maintain our culture and our mission. We'd negotiated. We'd discussed. And we'd accepted an offer of $3.2 billion. My stake in the company, 32% as CTO and co-founder, made me worth approximately $1.024 billion. I'd kept the acquisition completely quiet. I'd requested that my name be kept out of all press releases. I'd actively asked my fellow co-founders not to mention my involvement in casual conversation or family discussions. AITA signed comprehensive NDAs and non-disparagement agreements that legally prevented me from discussing the acquisition details with anyone outside of a strict need-to-know basis. The deal had closed 2 weeks before the family barbecue. 2 weeks. And my family still thought I was the broke one. That morning, after reading the ranking chat and absorbing the full weight of their judgment, AITA contacted my financial advisor and told her I wanted to pay off my cousin's student loans. All of them. All of them, my financial advisor, Patricia, had asked with significant surprise. Isabella, that's going to cost you a considerable amount of money. Are you certain? Do you want to think about this? I don't care about the cost, I'd said firmly. Look up what each of them owes. Transfer the funds. Then send them each a note from me. Patricia had done the research. Marcus owed $48,000. Jennifer owed $120,000, but Thomas was handling his own loans. Sarah owed $52,000. Brett owed $35,000. Melissa owed $31,000. I decided to give each of the 5 cousins in the chat $50,000, which would cover the loans for some of them and pay down others significantly. That was $250,000 total. A fraction of my net worth. A drop in the ocean of my newly acquired wealth. Patricia had processed the transfers and added a note from my email, "For your student loans, compliments of the broke one." I'd hit send at 9 a.m. on a Tuesday morning. The responses had started coming in by 9:15 a.m. Marcus, Isabella? Is this real? Where did this come from? Jennifer, what is happening right now? Brett, did you seriously just pay off my student loans? Sarah, I'm confused. Are you okay? Do you need help? Melissa, this doesn't make sense. I'd waited a few minutes before responding. Then AITA sent a message to the group chat with all 5 of them. Quantum Shift was acquired last month for $3.2 billion. My stake was worth approximately $1 billion. I thought the broke one could afford to help with some student loans. Consider it a gift from someone who wasn't actually as broke as you thought. The silence that followed my revelation was absolutely deafening. It was the kind of silence that fills a room when people are recalibrating their entire understanding of a situation. Nobody knew what to say. Nobody knew how to respond to the fact that the cousin they ranked as the broke one was actually worth $1 billion. No responses came for a full hour. The 5 of them were presumably processing. Checking their bank accounts to verify the transfers were real. Doing the math on the implications. Then, almost simultaneously, all 5 of them started texting again. Marcus, Isabella. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. I shouldn't have. Jennifer, oh my God. $1 billion? Why didn't you say something? Brett, this is incredible. Thank you. Seriously. But I'm upset we were ranking you like that. Sarah, I feel terrible. We had no idea. Melissa, this is amazing. But I'm also mortified about the chat. I didn't respond immediately. I let them sit with their discomfort for a while. Then I called my aunt, Marcus and Jennifer's mother, my mother's sister, and asked her to gather everyone at her house. I said I had something I wanted to discuss. They assembled that evening. My aunt, my uncle, Marcus, Jennifer, Thomas, Brett, Melissa. They looked nervous. Confused. Ashamed. I'd brought a document printed out, the acquisition agreement with my name redacted where possible, but the valuation clear. The transfer of funds visible. The proof. Let me tell you what actually happened, I'd said, sitting down at my aunt's kitchen table. I'd explained the founding of Quantum Shift. The years of grinding it out with no funding. The rejection from venture capitalists. The moment we'd gotten our first major client. The moment we'd understood that our technology was working. I'd talked about the subsequent years. About hiring a team. About opening international offices. About processing data for some of the largest companies in the world. I discussed the acquisition offer, the negotiations, the decision to sell. And the reason I'd said that I didn't tell any of you what was happening is because I watched what happened when people in this family made money. I watched Jennifer get pressured to help with family loans. I watched people make assumptions about what she should be doing with her success. I watched the competitive measuring start the moment anyone had anything to measure. I'd looked directly at Marcus. I watched you rank me as the broke one because you couldn't see beyond your own understanding of success. You couldn't imagine that someone could be building something you didn't recognize. You couldn't fathom that there might be levels of achievement beyond what you understood. Isabella, Marcus had started, but I'd held up my hand. I'm not done, I'd said. I paid off your loans because I wanted you to understand something. The money doesn't matter to me. What matters is that I built something. I built something that matters. I built something that processes critical data for some of the most important companies in the world. And I did it while you thought I was broke. We're sorry, Jennifer had said. We were being awful. We didn't know. You didn't know because you didn't ask, I'd interrupted. You made assumptions. You ranked me. You decided who I was based on your very limited understanding of what success looked like. My aunt had been quiet. The thing I want you to understand, I'd continued, is that my success wasn't dependent on your belief in it. My success was dependent on my belief in myself. You could have known. You could have asked. You could have been supportive. But you chose to rank me instead. And that says something about your character, not about mine. I'd stood up. I gave you the money because I wanted you to understand that the broke one had more resources than you did. But more importantly, I wanted you to understand that the ranking was meaningless. That your judgment of me was irrelevant. That I succeeded not because you believed in me, but because I believed in myself. What do you want us to do? Thomas had asked carefully. He'd been quiet through the whole thing, the one cousin who hadn't participated in the ranking. I want you to understand that this money, the $50,000, the $1 billion, all of it, is the result of believing in something when nobody else did. That's the real achievement. Not the money. The belief. We'll do better, Marcus had said. We'll ask. We'll listen. You'll do better for yourself, I'd said. Not for me. Because my success doesn't depend on you being better. It never did. That had been 3 months ago. The money transfer had become something of a legend in my family. My name, formerly synonymous with the broke one, was now synonymous with the billionaire cousin. But the interesting thing that had happened in the aftermath was that nobody had asked me for money. Not a single request. Not even from the most financially struggling members of the family. I think they understood that the point wasn't about the money. The point was about the independence. The point was about doing something exceptional without needing anyone's approval or belief. I'm sitting in my San Francisco office now, looking at the real-time data dashboard that Quantum Shift is maintaining for over 300 enterprise clients. The company I sold for $3.2 billion is operating efficiently under its new ownership. And I'm exploring what comes next. There are offers on the table. Venture firms want me to invest with them. Companies want me to serve on their boards. Speaking engagements. Advisory roles. But mostly, I want to build something else. Something new. Something that matters. I think about that group chat sometimes. About the ranking. About being called the broke one by people I'd grown up with. And I realize that the real victory wasn't in proving them wrong. The real victory was in never needing them to believe in what I was building. My cousin Marcus sent me a text last week. It said, "I'm sorry again. I should have asked about your career instead of assuming. I should have been curious instead of judgmental." I appreciated the apology. But it didn't change anything. Because by the time he sent it, I'd already succeeded. I'd already built a company that mattered. I'd already processed my pain and my ambition into something real and tangible. The ranking chat had hurt when I first saw it. But it had also clarified something important. It had shown me that my family's assessment of me was irrelevant to my actual achievement. I could have spent my time trying to prove them wrong. I could have thrown my newfound wealth in their faces. I could have used the money to demand respect. Instead, I paid off their loans and walked away. Because the real power, the thing that turned me from the broke 1 foot into the person who could pay off $250,000 in loans without blinking, wasn't about them. It was about me. About my belief. About my vision. About my refusal to accept their ranking as my destiny. I'm worth $1 billion. But that's not the real achievement. The real achievement is that I became that person without needing any of them to believe in me. And that's something money can't buy. That's something only you can build. For yourself.